Alright guys, this is the first problem from the mini lesson on 12.1 of 2015. We have cotangent x times tangent x equals 1. When we do this, cotangent you can turn into cosine over sine. There's no symbol in between cotangent and tangent, so that tells us that we are multiplying. Tangent we can turn into sine over cosine. Now since we're multiplying, like terms on top and bottom can cross out, and since the cosines are the same on top and bottom, we can cross those out. Since the sines are the same on top and bottom, we can cross those out. When everything crosses out, you should get 1 as your answer. And I also need 1 from the other side. Since I have 1 on both sides of the equal sign, I know I have proved that cotangent times tangent equals 1. Okay? Give me a second to erase this, and I will go to number 2 of the mini lesson. Right. On the second one on the mini lesson, we had cosecant u times cosine u equals cotangent u. Okay, so we want to look at our chart that tells us all of our trig functions. Cosecant, we can change that to 1 over sine. Remember, never ever change cosine or sine. So cosine I can leave as cosine over 1. I'm multiplying, so I want to see if anything crosses out. I have a 1 on top and bottom, so I can cross those out, and I'm left with cosine over sine. Has my equal sign, bring down cotangent. For cotangent, do not put 1 over tangent, okay? That's only there on your identity sheet as a rare occurrence. Look over towards the right on your identity sheet where cotangent is in respect to sine and cosine, okay? So cotangent is actually cosine over sine. Both sides match, so we are done with this problem, okay? Give me a quick second. Let me erase. I'll get ready for problem number 3. Okay, problem 3, we had sine of r over tangent of r equals cosine of r. Okay. Alright. We want to go ahead and start on this. Sine is on top. Remember, we never change sine. So I'm just going to rewrite that as sine over 1. This is all over tangent. Tangent, if you look on your identity sheet, is sine over cosine. Okay? Now, with fractions, remember you always take the bottom and flip it and then multiply it times the top. So my top is sine over 1. And I'm going to multiply it by the bottom flipped over, which is cosine over sine. Now, since I'm multiplying, I look for like terms that are the same on top and bottom. Sines are the same on top and bottom, so I can cross those out. I'm left with cosine over 1, which is the exact same thing as cosine, which is what we needed. Okay? All right. Give me a quick second, and I'll get ready for the next problem. All right. Next problem, we had secant squared times 1 minus cosine squared equals tangent squared. Okay? You can distribute the secant into both of these, but that's just, in my honest opinion, that's more work. If you'll look on your identity sheet, 1 minus cosine squared, that's on your identity sheet. That equals sine squared. So that kind of takes that out in one step. Now bring down the secant, or the secant squared. Secant is 1 over cosine, but since this secant function is being squared, we need to write this as 1 over cosine squared. Okay? Now since I'm multiplying, we should know that there's an understood 1 up under that sign. Now I have 1 on top and bottom. They are like terms. I can cross those out. That gives me sine squared over cosine squared. Now I need to bring down my tangent. If you look on your identity sheet, tangent is sine over cosine. Since tangent is being squared, both my sine and my cosine are going to be squared. Okay? And all of these rules are on the identity sheet. All right? Give me a quick second. I'll get ready for the next one. All right, last problem. We have cosine times secant minus cosine equals sine squared. Okay, secant minus cosine is not on the identity sheet, so we actually have to work that out. So secant is 1 over cosine minus cosine. Remember, don't ever change cosine, so leave that as cosine over 1. Okay? Anytime you are adding or subtracting with fractions, if the bottoms are not the same, you need to cross multiply. Okay? So 1 times 1 is 1. Bring down your minus sign. Cosine times cosine is cosine squared. And then for the bottom, you just multiply both denominators. So cosine times 1 is cosine. On your identity sheet, this numerator right here, 1 minus cosine, that's on the identity sheet as sine squared. Now just bring down the cosine. Okay, so we're done with everything in parentheses. Now I need to bring down my cosine and multiply. Remember, never change cosine, so leave that as cosine over 1. I'm multiplying. Since I'm multiplying, I want to look for like terms on top and bottom. Cosines match. I'm left with sine squared over 1, which is the same thing as sine squared, which is what we needed. Okay, this is the mini lesson for 12/1/2015.